Have you ever walked into a room and forgot what you were going to say? Me too. Which got me thinking about games that nobody remembers or talks about. Like my first words. For all I know, these could have been my first words. 1-2 Switch. It's a game, alright. I had to make sure this was sold in the produce aisle at Walmart. This is a game that I'm sure many have already forgotten about, and I wish I could say the same. This game absolutely mastered the art of mediocrity, and all of these years later, it's incredible to think about, honestly. I don't think many games out there can claim to have the same impact on people, because this didn't have any. The launch lineup for the Nintendo Switch was a mixed bag more than anything, but we did get quite a few classics out of it. Snipper Clips, Super Bomberman R, and most importantly, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This is without a doubt one of the most creative and ambitious Nintendo games ever made, rightfully earning several awards for its efforts. 1-2 Switch was also there. This was the most forgettable launch title of the bunch, and it might have been the worst too. I can't think of anyone who can have a single deep thought on this game because of how stupid it is, even conceptually. 28 minigames, all of which last about a minute or less, which can only be played with 2 people. It leads me to wonder why a game like this didn't do well. But taking an even closer look at it, this game is shallow, and I don't even think that does it justice. After playing the game, I can get with the room on this one. There is absolutely no substance to it at all. It acts like it's going to be the next Wii Sports or Nintendo Land, but let's take a second to actually talk about those games. Wii Sports is one of the most iconic and replayable games ever. There's no debate there. Every time I try, I get death threats. This one's from my grandma. All of its minigames had a slight bit of depth while also being very fun to play. The motion controls worked wonders here, and it succeeded at conveying the message of what the Wii was capable of. In Nintendo Land, while not having the same staying power as Wii Sports, the quantity and quality of the games here is way better than that game. It's a much better party game as well, having some of the most enjoyable multiplayer content out there. Even some of the games I didn't enjoy much before are things that I've warmed up to over time. 1-2 Switch never even came close to that. All of the minigames here don't even have a modicum of depth, and there is no reason to ever revisit it past experiencing all the minigames once, which is definitely a case of quantity over quality. There isn't a single one of these that I would ever come back to. I remember the Wizard game, the Gunman game, the Gorilla, and that's really it. Maybe the shaving one, but I never needed that one in the real world. But like with Wii Sports, the purpose of the minigames is to showcase the capabilities of the motion controls and the Joy-Cons. However, motion controls are looked at in a much different light today compared to when the Wii released. Back then, it was this cool and innovative thing that revolutionized the gaming landscape, while today, it's much more of a novelty. In more negative terms, it's a deadpan gimmick. Every minigame tries to make good use of the Joy-Con's vast array of abilities, including HD rumble, the IR sensor, the gyroscope, and as a choking hazard. And while these are cool things that the Switch can do, it makes the game feel like a series of tech demos rather than a complete experience. Some people wanted this to be sold alongside the Switch as a pack-in title of sorts, but I'm glad this wasn't, because this would just leave a bad taste in the mouth of consumers. What do they think this is, a grapefruit? So as a technical showcase, the game delivers in all fronts, making creative usage of its gimmicks by applying them to real-life situations most of the time. But as a game, it's a laughingstock. It proves itself to be an absolutely worthless experience with nothing of note to bring up aside from a comparison shot. But I don't think I'll really forget this game, because it is the game that pops into my mind when I think mediocre. Because there's no other way to describe it. I can barely talk about it for 5 minutes. It didn't do anything, both in its existence and legacy. I think I'm starting to get the idea.